Nobody talks about this, but growing a paid Substack from 0 to 1,000 paid members isn't one journey. It's 3. And the strategy that works at 100 subscribers might actually hurt you when you are at 500. We recently crossed the 1,000 paid subscriber threshold at Scale in under 18 months, and here's what I wish someone had told me at the start. What got us from 0 to 100 almost broke us at 300, and the tactics that took us from 500 to 1,000 would have been completely wrong at the beginning. So in this video, I'm breaking down exactly what we did at each stage, the strategies that worked, the mistakes that almost killed our momentum, and the specific shifts that unlocked the next level. This is the roadmap I wish we had when we started. But before we dive in, let me give you context on why 1,000 paid subscribers are so powerful. At $10 per month, you're looking at over $100,000 a year in recurring revenue. After Substack's cut and the Stripe fees, you can still expect to make over $80,000 just through your paid tier on Substack. But here's what matters even more. This income is predictable. You know what's coming next month if you do it correctly. You can plan around it. You can build on top of it, and I'll show you exactly how to build it sustainably in stage 3 of this video. At Scale, we treat Substack as a growth channel, not just as an income stream. Our paid tier is the entry point. Once people are inside, they often go on to join our courses, coaching programs, and paid community. But none of that matters if you can't get to 1,000 paid subscribers in the first place. So let me show you exactly how we did it. Now, when you're starting at 0, the game is not about optimization. It's not about funnels, retention strategies, or conversion rates. The focus at this stage is trust. You're asking people to give you money before you have proven anything, before you have testimonials, before you have a track record, before anyone else has validated that your work is actually worth paying for. So your stage 1 comes down to 3 things. Build trust through free content, launch your paid tier like a product, and price it confidently. At this stage, we did something that sounds counterintuitive. We gave away our best work for free. Now, I know everyone says to lock your best content behind the paywall so people want to pay for it, but think about it from the reader's perspective for a second. If they've never heard of you and all your best stuff is hidden, why would they ever pay, or why would they pay attention to your work? They probably wouldn't. They would just leave. So when we launched the Scale publication, we republished some of our highest performing content from other platforms, pieces that had already resonated with audiences on Medium or other places. And we gave them away completely for free on Substack. And this did 2 things. First, it immediately built credibility among Substack's audience. Since we were new, people were not familiar with our names or faces yet, but new visitors could see the quality of our work right away because it was there, visible for them. Second, it gave people a reason to subscribe to our free list, which meant that we could now nurture that relationship over time. And the beautiful thing is this works whether you have an existing audience or you're starting from scratch. The principle is the same. You lead with your best work, not with your paywalled work. And here's what most new Substack creators actually get wrong. They quietly add a paid tier, they put up a little subscribe button somewhere, and then they wonder why nobody is upgrading. Well, we took a completely different approach. Instead of silently setting up our paid tier, we treated our paid tier like a product, and we launched it like a product. In September 2024, we ran the Substack September Bootcamp. Instead of just saying, hey, upgrade to paid for exclusive content, which is rather vague and unattractive, we created a specific time-bound offer. Everyone who upgraded during that period got access to live workshops, expert interviews, and recordings they could watch later. There was a clear start date, a clear deadline, and a clear reason to act right here, right now, instead of later. And that single decision of treating the paid tier as a product instead of just a passive option got us to 100 paid subscribers in less than 60 days. But there's one more thing that almost killed our momentum at this stage. The mistake we almost made was pricing too low because we felt uncomfortable asking people to pay directly for our content. And I see this constantly with new creators as well. They think that they are new, so they don't want to charge a high fee, and they try to go for as low as possible. But the problem is, the lower you go, the less wiggle room you have and the more pressure you have to actually create more and more content. What you want to do instead is price confidently so that you actually feel good about less content that you're putting out there, because you know that it's valuable, you know that it's worth paying for. And one thing most people forget about paid subscriptions on Substack is that it's not just about the money you make on Substack. Your paid subscribers are the most valuable asset you have on the platform because people who pay are more committed. They take your content seriously. They show up to calls if you offer them. They engage in the community and they get better results, which means they become your most loyal fans, your advocates. We set our price at a point where we felt genuinely confident about the value we were delivering. We know that our publication is a steal for everyone who joins us because there's so much value behind the paywall. And that confidence comes through in your offers and in your promotions. And once you hit 100 paid subscribers, there really is a shift happening because suddenly you have proof. You have that first bestseller badge. You have people who've actually paid you, which means you have testimonials. But here's the trap. What got you to 100 won't necessarily get you to 500. At this stage, the game stops being about trust and starts becoming a game about systems. You can't personally message every potential paid subscriber anymore. You can't run a live launch every single week like we did with the bootcamp. You need repeatable processes that bring in new subscribers while you focus on actually creating value. For us, three things made the biggest difference at this particular stage. First, we built a recommendation network. Substack has an incredibly powerful feature that lets you recommend other publications and they can recommend you back. When someone subscribes to a publication that recommends you, they see a one-click option to subscribe to your publication as well. And a huge part of our subscribers discovered us through recommendations, not through viral content. Thousands of people literally found us because another creator promoted our work. But here's the key: you can't just cold DM someone asking for a recommendation. You need to build a real relationship first. And this is where our 10-5-1 rule comes in really handy. Every day we committed to a simple rhythm. We liked 10 notes from other creators, left 5 meaningful comments, and started one genuine conversation, either in DMs or in Substack chat. This wasn't about gaming the algorithm or being transactional. It was about showing up consistently in other creators' worlds before we ask for a favor. When you like someone's notes regularly, they start to recognize your name. When you leave thoughtful comments that go beyond something like just great post, but an actual insight or a question, you become memorable. And when you start a real conversation, you build the foundation for a strong collaboration in the future. After a month of doing this daily, we had a genuine relationship with dozens of creators in our space, and they actually turned into our biggest collaborators and affiliate partners. And when we eventually mentioned that we'd love to swap recommendations, it wasn't a cold ask, it was just a natural next step in a relationship that was already strong. The 10-5-1 rule sounds simple, but most creators don't do it. They post their own content and wait for growth to magically happen. We treated relationship building as seriously as content creation at this stage, and it paid off massively. Second, we mastered Substack Notes. Notes is Substack's short-form feed, and most creators completely ignore it or they use it wrong. We started posting 1 to 3 notes per day, not random thoughts, but strategic content designed to test ideas, build visibility, and drive people back to our publication page. And here's the thing about notes. This is how new people find you. Your long-form posts mostly go to your existing subscribers' inboxes. Notes, however, put you in front of people who have never heard of you before. We use notes to test hooks, validate ideas for longer posts, and stay top of mind with our existing audience between our weekly posts. And third, we created a content funnel inside our free posts. Every free post we published had a strategic link to a deeper resource behind the paywall. This was not a hard sell, just a natural extension. So we said something like, if you found this resource helpful, here's the complete framework with templates inside our paid tier. Readers who loved the free content could see exactly what they were missing out on, and many of them decided that the upgrade was naturally worth it because they wanted the template inside the paywall. But while we were focused on these 3 growth tactics, we almost missed one critical thing. We were so focused on getting new subscribers that we almost ignored the ones we already had. We were celebrating every new paid subscriber, but we were not paying enough attention to how many were quietly canceling their subscriptions each month. And if you do the math, if you gain 20 new paid subscribers a month but lose 15 to cancellations, your net growth is only 5. And at that rate, getting to 1,000 paid subscribers would take forever. So we started treating retention as seriously as acquisition. Every new paid subscriber now gets a welcome email asking what they're working on, and we actually reply to every single response. We ask for their feedback regularly. We make sure our paid community feels like they're getting more than just the paid content. And this shift alone probably saved us 6 months of grinding and hustling. Getting to 500 paid subscribers felt like climbing a mountain, but getting from 500 to 1,000 felt like building an actual engine. Because at this stage, the game is about leverage. Here, one well-timed promotion can bring in more subscribers than a month of daily posting. One strategic partnership can open doors that years of grinding never would. And the key shift at this stage was thinking in systems, not just campaigns. And here's what that looked like for us. First, we ran strategic sprint promotions. Most creators either never promote their paid tier or they promote it constantly. And both approaches tend to fail. Never promoting means leaving money on the table, while constant promotion burns out your audience and also makes you feel a little gross. We found a middle path. Those sprint promotions. A few times a year, we run dedicated campaigns like our 1-year anniversary promo where we offered tiered discounts for early upgraders. These campaigns have a clear start date, a clear end date, and a very clear reason to act quickly. During those sprints, we promote heavily. Between the sprints, we focus on delivering value and we barely mention the paid tier. This approach respects our audience while still driving significant upgrades during those sprint events. Our anniversary promotion alone brought in over 100 new paid subscribers with a single push. Second, we expanded what paid subscribers get. At a certain level, exclusive articles or paid content just isn't enough anymore. People expect more. So what we did is we added workshops to the mix. We added a community chat. We added templates, databases, and additional resources that were more than just written articles. With all these resources, we made our paid tier feel more like a membership than an actual newsletter subscription. This increased the perceived value, which made it easier to retain existing subscribers and convert new ones. And here's the part that surprised us the most. We started building beyond Substack. This is what most Substack creators actually miss entirely. Your Substack publication can be your home base, but if it's your entire business, you are way too vulnerable. Because platforms change, algorithms shift, policies update. We started using Substack as the entry point to a larger ecosystem. Paid subscribers often go on to buy our courses, coaching programs, and become affiliates for our products. Because one paid subscriber who joins us at $10 per month can go on and purchase a flagship course, later become a coaching client, and that single relationship can generate over 50 times what the original subscription was actually worth. This doesn't mean that we treat Substack as less important, it means we treat it as the foundation of something that is much bigger than the platform alone. And it's also part of the reason why videos like this one exist now. We decided to build a multimedia approach because we realized that our audience likes to learn in multiple ways. So we are publishing audio content through our podcast and YouTube videos like this one. Every piece of content we create now has a purpose in the larger machine. Free posts attract new readers, notes drive visibility, our welcome sequences nurture new subscribers, and our paid content delivers ongoing value. And at the same time, our promotions convert people from free to paid at predictable routines. When you have systems like these, growth becomes more predictable in itself. You're not just hoping for the next post to go viral, but you're instead running a business. Remember when I said what worked at 100 almost broke us at 300? That's because we tried to scale the bootcamp launch model instead of building these systems. We kept trying to recreate the initial magic instead of building repeatable processes. And I don't want you to make that mistake. If I had to point out one decision that made the biggest difference in our journey to 1,000 paid subscribers, it's this. From day one, we treated Substack like a business, not a hobby. That sounds obvious, but most creators don't do it. They dabble around. They only post when they feel inspired. They avoid promotions because it feels uncomfortable. They don't track their numbers, and eventually they don't achieve the goals they set for themselves. We had very clear goals on what we wanted to achieve, so we showed up in a way that allowed us to actually achieve them. We published consistently, whether we felt like it or not. We studied the best performing publications in and outside of our space. We ran real promotions. And because we treated Substack like an important platform, that's what it became. If you want to build a paid publication that reaches over 1,000 subscribers, you have to make that same decision as quickly as possible. And that brings me to how you can start the right way as well. If you want the exact templates we used for our promotions, welcome sequences, and to build our publication, grab the Substack Starter Kit. It's a free Notion dashboard with the frameworks and strategies we used to build Right Build Scale from 0 to 1,000 paid subscribers. The link is in the description box below. And if you want to see how exactly we are using Substack Notes to grow our audience with minimum effort, make sure to watch this video next. I'll see you there.